First, we have to establish that Lex Luthor's defining character traits that he's the most intelligent man on the planet that has near limitless resources. He's so smart that he's pretty much always several steps ahead of everybody else. We never figure exactly what all he knows or what all he's up to in the movie, but we can certainly guess that he knows far more than he ever lets on, and we shouldn't assume that when his apparently planned fails due to some seemingly ridiculous oversight, that we're not instead seeing his true plan succeed. Luthor alone on Earth seems to be really concerned about the possibility of another alien threat, which seems to be his motivation for seeking access to all of the alien technology he can get his hands on. When speaking with Senator Finch, whose primary concern is Superman, he tries to play to the angle, but it's obvious he's not worried about Superman. He knows Superman, secret identity, and Superman's weakness, and he knows Superman is incorruptible. Why else would he work so hard to corrupt Superman's image? Perhaps he thinks the kryptonite could be effective against whatever else is coming, or perhaps he hopes that he can find some additional use for it. More on what that might be on later. Certainly he knows he can use the Kryptonian ship, and apparently no one else is really interested in any of these things, but he's not having to compete with anyone but some local villagers for access to the kryptonite, which is cornered off in the Indian Ocean, but not even guarded or scavenged by any global power or other scientists that we can see. Everyone else is so uninterested in the body of the dead alien leader that Luthor is allowed to take it and not give it back, and no one asks where it's gone. And apparently no one else has gained access to the ship. No one even seems to be trying. And certainly no one else thinks of using the dead commander's fingerprints to access the fingerprint scanner on the door. The rest of the people inside of the dome over the crash ship are so uninterested, in fact, that they don't notice or care that Luthor is going in and out of the ship all the time, knowing how uninterested everyone else is that the Earth was just nearly destroyed by aliens, and knowing that there are more threats out there. Luthor has to be contemplating a plan of defense, if only for reasons of self-preservation. It's unclear from the film how Luthor knows about this other threat, but it's certainly clear that he knows. In one of the dream sequences, a foreshadowing of a possible future, Batman is attacked by what appear to be Darkseid's parademons. In another scene, while talking with Senator Finch in his father's study, Luthor draws her attention to the painting of angels fighting demons, the latter of which bear a striking resemblance to one from Batman's dream, and says, "We know better now, don't we? Devils don't come from hell beneath us, they come from the sky." Finch of course thinks he's still talking about Superman, but why would he be? Clearly he knows about these invaders who were in Batman's dream as well. At the end of the movie, he openly warns Batman about the coming threat, obviously hoping to goad him into taking exactly the action that Batman says he's going to take, finding the other metahumans to form a team of superheroes, which Luthor made possible in the first place. More on that in a moment. Finally, in a deleted scene that's been posted online that appears to take place in Luthor being arrested near the film's end, he is seen perhaps communicating, perhaps something else, with a figure who clearly resembles Steppenwolf, one of Darkseid's generals. You can watch the scene right over here. Lex Luthor knows exactly who Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne, and Diana Prince really are, and he invites them all to his mansion where he knows they'll bump into each other. He may not have actually invited Diana, but he certainly knows her, so it's kind of implausible that he would notice that she showed up. He even explicitly walks over and states how happy he is to have brought Clark and Bruce together, and advises Bruce against fighting with Clark. Luthor practically gives Bruce the information on all the other metahumans that he's found so far. What you thought was so ridiculous oversight was that he left his server room just sitting unlocked with no one guarding it. You thought his assistant just casually accepted Bruce's incredibly lame "I got lost looking for the bathroom" excuse, and then foolishly didn't escort him out of the room because she's an idiot? She didn't even stay and make sure he exited, she just walked away. You think she didn't immediately walk back to her boss to let him know Batman's got in, he's downloading this stuff now just like what you wanted? It's clearly all part of Lex Luthor's plan. When Bruce sends Diana and the information from Luthor's drive, we see that he's already designed fun little logos for Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg, even though, as far as we know, some, or not all, of them aren't even going to be by those names yet. Maybe don't even have their full outfits or anything, and certainly haven't come up with any branding for themselves. But Luthor is on it. He's ready to go. We're told in the events in Africa were actually an attempt by Luthor to throw blame on Superman for the deaths of innocents. For some reason, he leaves a really obvious clue behind that will lead directly back to him. Is there any reason for Lex's agents to be using a super unique prototype bullet that only LexCorp could possibly have access to? Do the bullets make people more dead than ordinary bullets, or is it in fact insurance that the scheme will eventually be traced back to him by someone close to Superman, thus guaranteeing that Superman will find out about it again? Luthor apparently bombs the Capitol building to further discredit Superman, again somehow, but he actually accomplishes two other goals instead. First, he clearly and deliberately draws Batman's attention. In fact, he may even have planned on Batman finding out about the plot sooner, perhaps even hoping he might be able to stop it, thus helping cement an alliance with Superman earlier. However, he didn't necessarily count on no one thinking to tell Bruce Wayne that one of the employees he helped rescue during the Superman-Zod fight had been returning his checks uncashed with crazy messages scrolled across them. And this had been going on for a while. It would have been logical for Luthor to assume Bruce would hear about this earlier. In any case, in drawing attention to the world's greatest detective, Luthor certainly knows that he's going to be found out. He's not exactly subtle in his involvement with the bombing either. In drawing both Superman and Batman's attention to himself as a villain, he clearly hopes to unite them against a common threat, being himself. But they're both too slow to pick up on what he's laying down, so he is forced to step things up a notch. Meanwhile, the bombing also eliminates Senator Finch, who's foolishly fixated on Superman, restraining his effectiveness on a time when Luthor knows both Superman and the government need to be free of such distractions to deal with the real threat. He has no other reason to kill her, even if she allows herself to throw a threat, block Luthor's access to the kryptonite. It's not like that would slow him down, plus I'm pretty sure he's basically just leaving it out for Batman. More on that in just a second. See, Luthor knows Bruce and Clark dislike each other's superhero alter egos. If he somehow didn't know it before, he hears the say much in the mansion where he first tries to introduce them up to each other. This complicates his efforts to bring them together, and he must know that he can't afford to have the most powerful superheroes on the planet at odds with each other when Darkseid arrives. First, he tries offering himself up as a threat so that they can unite against, but they both miss the clear trail of evidence that he leaves, so he reverses course and comes out in the open to plainly declare himself a villain and force them to fight each other. The outcome can go one of three ways. Batman kills Superman, Superman kills Batman, or they put aside their differences and unite against him. Obviously, he's hoping for the third outcome. What about self-preservation, you say? Well, come on, he knows they aren't going to kill him, and he has pretty good reason to hope that the two heroes are intelligent enough and virtuous enough to arrive at that point. However, he is enough of a pragmatist to know that, should they fight and better hero emerge victorious, the victor will be worthier of the two and will be ready to face the coming threat without distraction. Luthor's final card is Doomsday, which he apparently plays in a last-ditch effort to kill Superman. If man cannot kill God, the devil will do it. But actually, this is what makes it most obvious that his plan is not what it appears on the surface, because Lex Luthor isn't insane, and he isn't self-destructive, and yet this openly unleashing a non-unkillable monster that he can't control appears to be an insane act of self-destruction. Perhaps he's simply that obsessive in his hatred of Superman, but we never given any reason to suppose that that's the case. Neither Batman nor Superman are really shown doing anything that Luthor finds more than mildly annoying, and they certainly never get in the way of anything he seems to be planning. He has to grab them both by the labels and shake them to get them to notice he exists. The one possible exception to this is that Batman steals his giant hunk of kryptonite, but if anything, Luthor seems amused when he finds the calling card Batman leaves behind, probably because he wanted Batman to steal it. He clearly knew that Batman wanted it. There's no way he didn't hear about the convoy being attacked by a freaking Batmobile en route to the White Portuguese, but even if he didn't know it, was already aware of the investigation that led Batman to the ship, and even if he didn't find the black tracking device flashing red on the back of the white truck, why would he want Batman to have it? Because he knew Batman would be able to use it to create a weapon that can stop Doomsday. Remember, by the time he unleashes Doomsday, he knows that Batman and Superman have both survived their battle, but didn't show up together? They're still not a team, and Diana Prince is boarding a flight out of the country. The final piece of his plan is about to make them not just aware of each other's existence and tolerant of each other, he's done that, but actual comrades in arms. He has to know they'll succeed, the combined forces of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, and he knows that they're in possession of one-of-a-kind weapon. He knows they can kill his creation. Piece of cake. Or else they aren't the heroes he hopes they are, and this whole plan is crap. He likely didn't plan for Superman to die, because he expected the heroes to be smart enough to not give the anti-Kryptonian weapon to the only other Kryptonian. Maybe that's why he seems to be a little crazy at the end, because his brilliant team managed to screw up that badly, so maybe they won't do so well against the threat he knows is coming after all. That's got to be a little frightening, but we know Superman will be back, even if Luthor doesn't.